Hello, and welcome back to yet another video. This is the 30th episode of a story in which 10-year-old Naruto meets Minato from future and that turns Naruto's life upside down. As Naruto lives a happy life in which he is trained by Minato and later Kushina too. After you've finished watching, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. To begin, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get the party started.
A now-healed Itachi was about to spar with Minato to check his power when a wounded Raikage suddenly appeared in the middle of the field. The whole hand of death accompanied plus Naruto, Sasuke and Itachi teleported to Kumo to find the village attacked by an army formed by Zetsu clones and mysterious ninjas who happened to be members of the Uzumaki and Uchiha clans brought back as zombies. To make things worse, they found out that the zombies were protected against seals preventing a full resurrection. However, the most shocking thing came when our protagonists met Kushina's father, Fugaku and Mikoto. The Uzumaki looked at the watery-eyed woman with red hair and memories of his little princess filled his mind. "Kushina? Is that you?" he asked. "Why yes, Dad, it's me Kushina, I'm your daughter," she said while trying to contain the tears. "Oh dear, you grew into a really beautiful woman, how I wish your mother could see you and, better not, she would be back as an Edo Tensei summoned too and she would complain about the quartered skin and black eyes." Who's that blonde guy and why he is holding your hand?" "Databaso," cried Ashina while he pointed at Minato. "Wait, don't you recognize him?" "Oh, I forgot, those brought back with Edo Tensei don't remember the afterlife. He is my husband Minato Uzumaki, formerly known as Minato Namikaze, Databane," she said. "It's good to see you again Ashina-san," said Minato. "What? You married my little princess? Who are you? What are your merits? What makes you worthy of her? Are you strong? Do you treat her well? Respond to me Databaso," cried the old man. Kushina's sweat dropped. She forgot how overprotective was her father. He used to chase boys away back in Yuzu and due to that she didn't learn how girls were supposed to act around them, turning into a tomboy. "Dad. Minato is the best husband a woman would ever want and he is one of the strongest ninjas ever, he became the Yondaime Hokage nonetheless," explained Kushina. The mention of Minato's title changed Ashina's attitude towards him immediately. "Oh. So you are the famous yellow flash those Akatsuki freaks talk about? They are really scared of you, especially Madara. What a sore loser, Databaso, to think that he started all this mess because Konoha's people chose Hashirama instead of him, he couldn't bear being second best to Hashi boy. Whoever kills him this time should make sure that he wouldn't be back. I suggest to bury him prostrated in a crossroad with a really big stake nailed into his ass. I suggest to coat him with quick-setting cement and put a movement-sensitive explosive tag into his mouth, Databao," exclaimed Naruto completely enthusiastic with his grandfather's inventiveness. "And you are?" asked Ashina. "He is Naruto Uzumaki, your grandson," said Kushina. "Hello Gigi. I can't believe that I would be calling an old man Gigi and, well, said old man happening to be my real Gigi," commented Naruto very excited, almost forgetting that it was not a family reunion. "My grandson? Really? Wow, now that I look closely at you I can see the similarities. A blonde Uzumaki heir sounds great, it breaks the cliché. For some reason these Kumo ninjas think that all the Uzumakis are redheads while the truth is that only about 40% of us have that hair color," commented Ashina. "Well, at least it doesn't sound as ridiculous as those who think that all redheads are Uzumakis like those guards who asked if Tayuya was a renegade Uzumaki after she escaped from prison. We should remark it in her entry in the bingo book entry," thought Kushina. "Isn't that one of those vests that Konoha gives to ninjas of Chunin rank and above?" asked Ashina looking at Naruto with great interest. "Yup, I got it on my first try on the exams. In fact I was considered good enough for special Jonin. I just have to stay Chunin for a year before the rank becomes effective," explained Naruto proudly. "Really? That's fantastic. When I imagined how would be Kushina-chan's children I pictured loud and stubborn airheads causing trouble, making pranks and failing at the academy," commented Ashina. Kushina and Naruto sweat dropped while Minato had to pinch himself to not laugh at the comment. "Oh, come on, get here and give your grandpa a hug," said Ashina looking at Naruto with a warm smile. Naruto ran towards Ashina eager to embrace him, but suddenly the old man's smile disappeared. "Stay away from me, Naruto," cried Ashina while he projected a chakra chain towards the boy. Luckily Naruto reacted in time and dodged the chain by some centimeters. "I'm sorry," apologized Ashina, "the one who summoned me intensified his control. It looks like he allowed us to talk so you would lower your guard." "I understand, Gigi," said Naruto while he summoned his own chain. "Can't you tell us how to counter that repelling seal so we can use Dad's special seal to bring you and the others back?" Ashina didn't respond or couldn't do it. He attacked Naruto with a fireball jutsu, but Kushina intercepted the attack with a water one. They began to fight and more dead Uzumakis joined their leader. The living Uzumakis were no longer in the temporary bliss of meeting the old patriarch. They were angry, overwhelmed with a rage that they didn't feel since they faced Madara in Snow Country. Naruto didn't notice it, but he already was unleashing a chakra tail. Something similar was happening with the Uchihas. When Sasuke saw his parents, his first thought was to run towards his mother to hug her and show his father how strong he turned, but whoever was controlling Fugaku and Mikoto didn't want to take any risks with Itachi around and force them to attack the last Uchihas. For Sasuke it was one of the hardest fights of his short life. His first impulse at seeing his parents alive was to hug his mother and show his father how strong he became. But their first attack reminded him that he was in a war and that they were his opponents. So he fought as best as he could, making good use of the experience and tactics that he developed when training with the Hand of Death, including his cat summons and the Chidori variants. With a quick swing of his right uncharged sword he managed to cut Fugaku in half just to see how he reformed in a few seconds, as nothing happened. He didn't know if he should be surprised by his own power or disappointed with his parents not being as strong as he expected, but he had to remind himself that he has been trained by S-class ninjas to cope with other S-class ninjas. While not as strong as Kakashi, Fugaku was still clearly stronger than most Konoha's jonins, and there was also the novelty of seeing his mother dressed like a seasoned kunoichi and fighting as one instead of the kind and caring housewife and mother who always smiled. It broke his heart to fight her and see her as a slave with her beautiful face marred by the jutsu that brought her to life. The worst thing was that they couldn't do anything to help her, his father and the rest of Uchihas, due to that repelling seal. However, he was more worried for Itachi. The guilt for killing his own family almost killed him. To see their parents could bring him back that self-inflicted illness that tormented him for years. "You grew up a lot, Sasuke," said Mikoto. Mom," he babbled while he was almost hit by her shurikens. "Please, keep your focus. I wouldn't forgive myself if I hurt you." "It looks like the one controlling us had to release part of his control, allowing us to talk," she said. Sasuke noticed that Naruto and his parents were no longer talking with long-haired Uzumaki, who seemed to be his grandfather. "Mom. Don't worry, I will find a way to free you," he said. "It doesn't matter now." "Sasuke, why are you here? You look about 13 years old, shouldn't you be in a genin team taking D&C missions? And how is that the Yondaime and his wife are alive?" she asked while she delivered a high kick. Sasuke gave her a brief explanation about a mysterious man claiming to be Naruto's father suddenly appearing one day, the formation of the Hand of Death and the training they gave to the kids of his generation, the training that he got from Kakashi, Kurenai and the Sandaime, and how he became a Chunin who would be automatically promoted to Special Jonin after a year's time, everything while trying to restrain her with ninja wire. His father and Itachi were fighting close enough to hear them. Well, Itachi was destroying Fugaku's body and the later just regenerated while he complimented how strong he became and how proud he was of him. "The same goes for you, Sasuke. You don't know how I regret not spending more time with you. I was always aware of your potential, but I just wanted you to have a more normal childhood, but I was afraid that you would misinterpret it if I told you, thinking that you were not enough," he said. I understand too, San. At first a part of me was angry at you for the rebellion thing, but then I realized that I would have done the same," responded Sasuke. How did Konoha react to what happened to the clan? Asked Fugaku, dreading an answer ere his children were ostracized for being the progeny of traitors. Mikoto and him were clearly relieved when Sasuke told them that the village never knew about the rebellion, that the clan's reputation was intact and that Itachi was hailed as a hero. Thanks to distraction caused by the fight he didn't have to go into details. Even thought the younger Uchihas were forced to fight their revived parents. The chance to talk with them was somewhat cathartic. So you became the first cat summoner? That's fantastic, I'm really proud of you, Sasuke, exclaimed Mitoko. An explosion from another battle made her look where the Uzumakis were fighting. Now that I think about it, why are Minato and Kushina alive? She thought. The fight against Ashina was getting more and more destructive. Naruto was impressed by his grandfather's abilities, especially how he created seals in the middle of the battle. He also noticed that his parents were trying to find a way to immobilize the old man, but all of them were failing. Can't you tell us how to remove that protection seal, Dad? Asked Kushina. I'm sorry, but the one controlling me specifically implanted the order to not tell that, said Ashina. Suddenly he stood in silence for a few seconds and spoke. It looks like he ordered me to fight more serious and use the twins, he said while he took the pair of bandaged weapons that he had on his waist. What? I thought that Uzumakis were not swordsmen. Mom remarked that, commented Naruto. These are not swords, said Ashina while he removed the bandages, revealing a pair of gigantic paintbrushes. With a swift movement Ashina drew a huge seal pattern in the air that flew towards Naruto and his family. Naruto, fly upwards, exclaimed Minato while he grabbed Kushina and took off. He did as told and looked with a mixture of fascination and shock how an area equivalent of a training field exploded in flames when the seal touched it. Ashina drew more seals that flew towards them. Some of those seals created more fire explosions while others created static storm clouds. Other Uzumakis joined the fight using high-ranking jutsus and throwing explosive tags that exploded at their will. If only I had the chance to capture one of them and examine the seal, perhaps I could find a way to remove it and use my own seal to bring them back to life in a real resurrection. If things keep like this I will be forced to use that weapon, thought Minato. Meanwhile Naruto was getting annoyed by the attacks from the Edo Tensei zombies. That's it. I will show you them why I'm worth of the special Jonin rank. I will use that special technique that I didn't have the chance to use during the invasion, thought Naruto. He landed and created a single clone who almost attached to him. The zombies charged at him, some with small chakra chains and others with restraining seals. The clone had both his hands surrounding Naruto's right and began to form wind chakra while Naruto began to concentrate. Then, with an unison movement, both Naruto and the clone pointed the arms towards the Uzumakis. Futon, Hizashi Tatsumaki. Wind element, Hizashi tornado, exclaimed Naruto while he projected a horizontal tornado from his hand that tore and drilled through his adversaries like they were made of paper. His parents briefly saw the attack and couldn't help but feel really proud of him. Just like the Hizashi is a ray version of the Rasengan, the Futon, Hizashi Tatsumaki is the ray version of the Futon, Rasengan, thought Kushina. I think that it would have been better if Naruto named it Super Awesome Raisin Drill of Destruction, pointed Minato. Minato, we already talked about putting ridiculously long names to jutsus, said Kushina. What if, quickly Minato, use the liberation seals on them, she said while she pointed at the defeated zombies who began to regenerate. Without any word Minato teleported to the zombies and managed to place the seals on them without any opposition. A silver light covered them and everybody could see how the souls of the summoned Uzumakis got free and disappeared while their fake bodies crumbled and turned into dust. That's it. Kushi-chan, you are brilliant. If the bodies are destroyed, the same goes with their protection seals, and that would allow us to place ours while they regenerate. They won't come back to life, but it will free them from Madara's control, exclaimed Minato while he used the seal bracer to tell everybody. Then he teleported to them the majority of his liberation seals. The rest of members of the Hand of Death received the news and proceed to tell Kumo's forces about the weakness of the summons. At the news of the summoned shinobis no longer being invincible, the invaders began to fight with more care, no longer throwing themselves towards their adversaries. The living Uzumakis and Uchihas tried to do the same tactic to free Ashina, Mikoto, and Fugaku, but those three began to flee while the rest of the zombies covered their retreat. "I'm sorry, but Madara deemed us too valuable to take the risk of losing us. It was relieving to see that you are fine, Kushina-chan, and a pleasure to meet you, Minato, Naruto," lamented Ashina. Minato used a clone to form a futon, Rasengan, and teleported at their side, but a figure moving at great speed got between them and almost cut Minato in half if he didn't dodge. It was the Sandaime Raikage. "Crap, I have no time to deal with him now," thought Minato, remembering this Raikage as one of the most annoying opponents from the afterlife due to his nigh invulnerability. "Lariat," exclaimed a while he tackled his father. "Thank you for your help, There is no time for that." "Help my brother," exclaimed a while he got into a grapple fight with the other Raikage. Minato saw B in the Hachibi form trying to free himself from a moving tree. With a sigh he had to stop the chase and help the Jinchuriki. He slammed the futon Rasengan into the tree, destroying it, freeing B. "Yo, thanks to beat that nasty tree, bro, but unfortunately there are more where it came from," said B while he pointed towards a figure that Minato recognized very well. "Hashirama Senju, the Shodai Hokage." "Oh, hello, you must be the Yondaime Hokage I was told about. I have been longing to meet you." "How are things at Konoha?" said Hashirama with a friendly smile. "Brother, he is in the opposite side of this battle, he won't stop and chat with you," said a voice that Minato also recognized. There stood Tobirama Senju, the Nidaime Hokage, creator of countless techniques, including the one who summoned them. The vision of the Senju brothers filled Minato's mind with nostalgia, remembering when he met them in the afterlife. I really hoped that Madara wouldn't bring them, but why he shouldn't? Unlike the original timeline, their souls were not sealed by the Shiki Fuin to prevent a summoning. Well, at least I'm at advantage against them. They don't know my techniques, but I'm familiar with theirs, and due to not remember anything from the afterlife they are not as powerful as they were there, thought Minato while he prepared his Hiraishin kunais. He noticed Naruto and Kushina fighting a man armed with a staff, and he almost lost his cool when he recognized him. "Geez, who is this guy and why he looks a lot like Konohamaru?" asked Naruto. "I remember him from your father's memories, he is Sarutobi Sasuke, the Sandaime's father," explained Kushina. "The old man's father? But he is young and the old man is old and—" "Oh yeah, he died young," commented Naruto. "So my son lived to become old? It's nice to know that." "How is he doing?" asked the Sarutobi. "He is fine, he became a great Hokage and has ruled the village more time than any of them. He has a family that includes a chain smoker and a brat who looks a lot like you. I can't believe that I'm talking with the old man's old man." "You should meet Sasuke Uchiha, they named him after you," commented Naruto. The chat was interrupted by a Mokuton attack that almost caught Naruto but was intercepted by Kushina's chains. That didn't come from Hashirama, he is engaging Minato. Then from who? Oh, it's him, she thought with a frown. "Real ninjas don't waste their time with pointless chit-chat in the middle of a fight," said Danzo Shimura while he threw another Mokuton attack from his Sharingan-covered arm. However, this time the attack was intercepted by black flames. "Danzo, it's all your fault," cried Sasuke while he jumped towards the War Hawk. The young Uchiha was so focused to kill Danzo that he didn't notice the figure who was coming from the flank, but luckily Itachi got in between them and kicked the newcomer, who turned into water when he hit the ground and then began to reform, just like his clan's member Suigetsu. "Not bad, kid, it looks like you have lot of potential to catch me like that." "What's your name?" asked Genjutsu Hozuki, the Nidaime Mizukage. "Itachi Uchiha, Mizukage-sama." "It's an honor to fight a legend like you," responded Itachi while still keeping an eye on Sasuke and Danzo's fight. "Talented and with manners, I think that I found a real golden egg, it will be really fun to fight you," commented Genjutsu. Meanwhile Minato was fighting the Senju brothers while eluding the attacks from other legendary ninjas like Pakura of the Sand or a pair of members of the Kiri's swordsmen whom he could recall the names. Damn it, things are getting worse and worse. I shouldn't have a problem to defeat those two at the same time, but it's really hard with all these S-class ninjas getting in the way, thought Minato. Wow, this man is amazing, it's like fighting a super powerful version of you, commented Hashirama to his brother. Tobirama didn't say anything, he was looking at other way. So they brought them too, he commented. Who? OHSHIT, thought Minato. On the top of a mound stood Mu the Null Man, the Nidame Tsuchikage, Raza the Yondame Kazekage, the Gold and Silver Brothers, Kimimaro, more swordsmen of the mist, another Raza and a green-clad figure that Minato recognized as Mado Dai. SHIT, shit and 1,000 times SHIT, thought everyone. Minato realized that they were completely overwhelmed. Even if they had the help from the other Kages, he was almost out of liberation seals and they were too complex to make them in the middle of a battle. Although he was powerful enough to defeat all those ninjas, he had to do it with attacks powerful enough to destroy their protection seals and place his to do it. He came to a decision. We have to retreat. During the fight with the revived Uzumakis and Uchiha's Naruto has the chance to meet his grandfather Ashina while Sasuke and Itachi have a talk with their parents. Minato tried to capture Ashina but he was intercepted by the Sandame Raikage, finding out that the enemy not only brought the nearly extinct clans but several Kages and powerful ninjas who were not summoned in the original timeline. Although they found out that the summoned ninjas can be defeated destroying their bodies and using Minato's special seal before they regenerate, they are overwhelmed by the enemy and Minato came to the decision that they had to retreat. Retreat? Never, roared A while he tried to catch his father in an arm lock. Be reasonable, we can't defeat them right now, I don't have enough seals and they are too many powerful ninjas to be stopped at the same time. We have to gather our allies and organize our forces to make an effective strategy to win, said Minato. It's very easy to retreat that when it is not your village the one that is attacked, said A while he used a lariat on the Sandame Raikage with little effect. The Yondame Hokage is right, said a newcomer, Darui, A's right-hand man. From the hill I saw the Kages and other legendary ninjas arriving and I came to the same conclusion as him, we can't win, we have to minimize our losses and counterattack when we are prepared. What about our civilians? They are in the shelters right now, they won't be able to keep the pace of the ninjas, the zombies don't get tired and will obliterate our forces while we try to cover the civilians' escape, this is our last stand, pointed A. I also thought about that, I told Mabui to teleport the special kunai that Minato gave us to the shelters at Turtle Island. This way he can teleport the civilians there so us ninjas can retreat safely without having to worry about them, said Darui. I looked at him like he grew a second head. Are you fucking nuts? Are you really suggesting to abandon the village? I refuse, I'd rather die than concede such victory to the enemy, protested A. Do what Darui said, son, said the Sandame Raikage, the village is the people who inhabits it, not the place, you can reconquer it later but only as long there is people alive to do it, was shocked to see that his father not only remembered who he was but was agreeing with Darui's plan. But father, we can't. Look I know that we are asking you to take most important decision a Kage would ever take and I'd probably refuse to leave too if I was in the same position as you, but the thing is that no Kage had to deal with such overwhelming forces invading his village. While standing against the enemy would be a honorable death, it won't protect our people. To be a Kage is to take the most beneficial decision for your people, not the one that you would want, explained the Sandame Raikage while he got A in an arm's lock. A stood there for several seconds until he freed himself from his father's lock with a roar and looked at Minato and Darui. Do what you have to do, I will help to contain them as much as I can, he said. Minato and Darui nodded and headed towards the shelters. On their way there Minato got in contact with Kushina and told her about the escape plan. I understand, do you want me to prepare the tactic that we have been perfecting since the end of the invasion? She asked. Yes, we will need to use that technique to make it work, we are really lucky that we got the hang of it last week, commented Minato. I told you that I would do it before your estimated time, dear. I will tell the others and prepare it, said Kushina. Darui guided Minato through Kumo's deserted streets to a building at other side of village, near the outskirts, with a sign that said, Kumo's Waste Processing Unit. You really have the shelter under the village's dump? Asked Minato. Yes, we do. It is one of the last places where invading forces would look at. It smells better inside, said Darui while he opened a secret door. When they got there they were received by C and Yujito. Yandame Hokage-san, you came. Are you going to follow Darui's plan? I still think that we can repel the invaders if we retract our forces. We should be able to endure a siege for some days until reinforcements arrive, said C. Minato denied it with his head. It would be possible if we were fighting an army of normal ninjas, but we are dealing with immortal, tireless enemies who don't need to eat, drink or sleep. One of the advantages of the defending side in a siege is that they have more supplies than the invaders, but this enemy doesn't need them. They can attack and attack without pause, said Minato. So, Hokage-sama, can you really teleport Kumo's entire civilian population? How many travels would you need to do that? Asked Yujito. The me from several years ago would have needed 6 or 7 travels, and I would have required to rest several minutes between them, time that we don't have. Luckily I have a seal that I developed with the help of the Naidame and my father-in-law in the afterlife that will allow us to do it in a single travel, explained Minato. How ironic, those men are now threatening the lives that will be saved with the seal they helped to develop, he thought. Yujito, go to help our forces while we evacuate the civilians. The reason I didn't allow you to go earlier is because you will have to cover their retreat after the evacuation is complete and you need to be as fresh as possible, said Darui. Are you sure about that? She is very powerful but the enemy is devastating, she may end captured, said C. Don't worry about me. B and Rashi are not the only Jinchurikis who mastered the power of their beasts. Matatabi and me came to an agreement after the invasion of Konoha and we are now friends. If the enemy thinks that I'm an easy prey they will change their minds the hard way via Bijadamas, commented Yujito while she left. Stay away from the Shodai Hokage and Uzumakis with chains, said Minato while he took note of another important change in the original timeline. I hope that Naruto will manage to befriend Kurama too in the near future, he thought. They got into a gigantic lounge full of supplies where Mabui was talking to the civilian population. Minato felt the glares coming from the civilians while many of them openly expressed their disagreement of his presence there and the evacuation plan. There was an old man who seemed to be unofficial spokesman of the population. I don't care if the Raikage agrees with the stupid evacuation plan. Kumo is my home and I won't leave it for the invaders to take it, especially if we are going to need that monster's help, he cried while he pointed at Minato. Agree. He speaks for us all. Go back home, Yellow Flash. We don't need you, don't come back, monster. Darui decided to intervene, leaking some killing intent. The great majority of the population got paralyzed by it, but the old man stood there by pure stubbornness. So that's how things are going to be. Will you force us to go with your plan? Asked the old man. No, I won't force you to anything. You have to realize how useless it is to stay here when we don't have any chance of victory right now. It hurts me more than anybody to abandon our home. If we stay we will be massacred and lose it anyways, but if we do leave we will have the chance to get it back later. As long as we are alive there will be always hope, said Darui. The old man tried to disagree but Minato cut him. You are Ichiro Natsume's father, don't you? You look a lot like him, asked Minato. At the mention of his deceased son's name the old man exploded. Yes, I'm Ichiro's father, one of the Kumo ninjas you killed during the war. How you dare to mention his name and why do you know it? Cried the old man. I met Ichiro in the afterlife and made peace with him. I did it with all the people I killed during the war. He is very happy there. He reunited with his beloved Azumi and married her. If it makes you feel better, I had the feeling that he was the one who won. I was separated from my wife all that time, said Minato. The old man was shocked. Azumi? She was Ichiro's fiancée. She died 2 years before the war and it broke his heart. There is no way you could know it unless you actually met them in the afterlife, he babbled. Minato nodded. As I said, I made peace with all those Nins that I killed during the war. I recognize more people from the talks I had with them. You must be Takato Yuami's aunt and you Hideyoshi Nagaki's brother, he said while he pointed towards a pair of civilians who recognized the names. Enough talk, intervened Darui. Right now your ninja family, friends and comrades are fighting so you can escape. Each minute we are wasting here is a minute that they are paying with their blood and lives. How do you expect to honor your dead relatives if you ignore the sacrifice of the living ones? Now shut up and do what the yellow flash says. A great silence filled the lounge. The civilians nodded and looked at Minato waiting for instructions. I think it is the first time I saw Darui exploding like that, whispered C. He doesn't want to escape neither, but he realized that it is our best chance to survive. Kumo's survival is his top priority, said Mabui. Minato sent a brief look at the white-haired Nin. The Sandaime Raikage made a very wise choice when he assigned Darui to be A's right-hand man. It's no wonder why he becomes the Godaime Raikage in the future, he thought. While he created 3 clones. All right everyone, take all the supplies and baggage you can gather and them at the center of the lounge, he said while his clones and him began to draw several seals at the corners of the lounge. Meanwhile A's fight with his father was beginning to turn into the later side. While A was a bit faster than his father and managed to deliver more blows, he couldn't deal any damage to the third due to his inhuman durability and he was beginning to get tired while his opponent seemed to have infinite reserves of energy. To make things worse, A tripped with some rubble and would have been impaled by his father's infamous hell stab if a new player didn't join the fight. Kaiten, exclaimed Hayashi Hyuga while he created a dome that repelled the third Raikage. Both Kages were surprised to see that the Hyuga patriarch of all people was the one who intervened in the fight. You are the Hyuga clan head, why are you helping my son? You know the pain it would cause me if I kill him, said the third while he stood up. Yes, I admit that I wouldn't have mind to see you suffer after what you did to my family, but the current Raikage is an ally of Konoha and it is part of my duties to keep him safe. Tell me, why did you do it? Why are you so obsessed with the Byakugan to the point of risking a war when I killed that ambassador who tried to kidnap my daughter? Asked Hayashi. The third just charged at them. I have nothing to explain to a white-eyed freak who traded his own brother to save his hide, he said while he delivered a punch that Hayashi barely dodged. You don't know nothing about my family, cried an enraged Hayashi who struck back at the third. A joined him and another round to stop the Sandaime Raikage started. This time the fight was more balanced, the third was beginning to fight in a more defensive manner, something that A quickly realized. It's time to check if that theory is true, thought A. He charged towards his father with one of his favorite techniques. Lariat, he cried while he extended his arm. However, at the time it touched the third's neck, instead of trying to drag him, he made an unexpected move and grabbed his father's right arm with his while he kept the lock on the third's neck with his other arm, managing to immobilize him for a few seconds. The third managed to free himself, but at that time Hayashi already took advantage of the chance. You are in my range of divination, he cried while he took the stance of one of his clan's most prized techniques. Hak Hyaku Nijuhachi Sho, 8 trigrams 128 palms, he cried while he began to hit the third's tenketsus. 2 hits, 4 hits, 8 hits, 16 hits, 32 hits, 64 hits, 128 hits. The third Raikage stood for a few seconds until he fell to the ground, completely immobilized due to his tenketsus being closed. A looked at his father's fallen form. So the theory was true, your invulnerability doesn't work against Juken, it explains a lot of things, said A. What do you mean? Asked Hayashi. Let me explain, son, said the fallen Raikage. The truth was that some people in my village was actually interested to get the Juken, the Byakugan was just a necessary tool to use it. The ambassador who you killed that night was planning a coup with other conspirators, they realized that my body, despite being invulnerable, it still worked like a normal one and had tenketsus that could be blocked. I never ordered the abduction. Hayashi looked unfazed, although he was actually very shocked from the revelation. Then why did you demand it for my head? He asked, containing the impulse to kick his head. Because although the man you killed was a traitor, he was my traitor, a member of my village, I was the only one entitled to punish him. The Raikage's duty is stand for his citizens against external forces, and no matter if they are right or wrong, innocent or guilty, my loyalty is to my people first, no matter the consequences. We later found out about the conspiracy, and the ambassador's accomplices suffered several unfortunate accidents, explained the third. Why Konoha didn't heard about any of that? Asked Hayashi. Because, as I said, Kumo's citizens are my priority. Those conspirators had families that had nothing to do with the conspiracy. Revealing the truth would have labeled them as the relatives of traitors, and they didn't deserve that, explained the third. Hayashi didn't know what to say. For years he thought that the third Raikage was a bloodthirsty beast who wanted to conquer all, not a leader who would stood for his people even if it could cause a war. Now he understood why that man gave his life standing against an army of 10,000 men so his soldiers could retreat. He also realized why Kumo had the lowest rate of missing ninjas. They were not seen as disposable tools that would be discarded if caught in the middle of a sensitive mission. Their leaders would stand for them. That made him feel ashamed of the way his clan used to run its own people until recently. No wonder why the third insulted him like that. There is something you have to know. I never sold my brother. It was my intention to give my life to preserve peace between the villages, but my brother intervened and offered willingly his life for mine. The Hyuga clan is no longer divided. There is not a part that is better than the other, and we are equals, he said. A small smile formed in the third Raikage's mouth. I see. I'm very relieved to hear that. I would have been really ashamed to be defeated by a fratricide coward, but not by a man who put things in order at his home. He looked at You fought very well, son. You became a worthy Kage. I also saw how B was able to perform the Bijidama while keeping control. That must mean that he managed to become a perfect Jinchuriki. Tell him how proud I am of him. The same goes for you, he said. I will, father, said A while manly tears appeared in his face. Now you should leave and help your comrades. I feel that regeneration that affects those who were brought back is beginning to open my tenketsus. I don't know how much I will take me to fully, but you should use it to keep with the evacuation, said the third. Goodbye, father. I promise that we will find a way to free you from Madara's claws, and then we will make him suffer for what he did, said A while he left the place, followed by Hayashi. Elsewhere, Minato just finished to draw the seals at the four corners of the lounge and got into a meditative stance. Chakra lines appeared from the seals and connected with each other, forming a square. I see, those seals are forming a teleportation area that will affect whatever is inside it, commented Mabui. That's right, the main advantage of these seals is that the chakra cost depends on the area affected, not the mass inside it. It doesn't matter if I teleport a single person or 100, as long as they fit inside the square they can be teleported as long as I have the chakra to make a square of certain size work, said Minato. However, I'm lucky that Kumo as a relatively small civilian population compared to Konoha, the area necessary to teleport them would have been beyond my normal chakra capacity, he thought while he meditated. What are you doing? Why you are not activating the seals? Asked Darui. I'm gathering the energy to activate a technique that will help make the teleportation easier. We are not the only ones who will leave, said Minato while his eyes turned yellow with horizontal slits and red marks around them. Mabui, being an expert in ninja lore, recognized the technique from some old texts. That's Sage Mode, she cried. That's right, said Minato, and I'm not the only one who can use it. Meanwhile, at the battlefield, Kushina got up from her meditative with her eyes now looking like her husband's. That's Sage Mode, exclaimed Hashirama, recognizing the technique for being a sage himself while he blocked some wood bullets from Tenzo with a Mokuton shield. I don't know if I should lucky or sorry for being the only Hokage who didn't get ridiculous powerful woman at my side, commented Tobirama while attacking Zabuza. It was no secret that Minato trained Tenzo and Zabuza to be alternate versions of Hashirama and Tobirama respectively due to their shared Mokuton and Suiton affinities. The members of the Hand of Death took the idea of fighting the legendary ninjas that were used as example for their training with a mixture of feeling honored and caution, quite aware that they were not at their level. It was quite obvious that Tenzo's Mokuton couldn't compare with Hashirama's, and a similar thing happened between Zabuza and Tobirama's Suiton, but the younger ninjas had the advantage of the different, unknown techniques to the Senju brothers that Minato helped them to recreate, techniques that ironically were originally developed by the Senju brothers themselves in the afterlife but couldn't remember after they were brought back. Thanks to that advantage, Zabuza and Tenzo managed to cover Kushina while she gathered the necessary nature chakra to activate Sage Mode. The link that Minato shared with Kushina prevented him to use Sage Mode because part of the dangerous nature chakra leaked towards Kushina, coming to the conclusion that she had to learn to use Sage Mode in synchrony with Minute if they didn't want her to turn into a statue if Minato needed to use the technique. She finally managed to get a hold in nature chakra a little after the invasion of Konoha and mastered the technique in little time, in a similar way Naruto did in the original timeline. Jiraiya's ego took a big blow when he found out that his student's fiancée surpassed him in the sage arts and promised himself to reach at least the same level in them. With a hand sign she created 3 clones who were deployed through the battlefield tearing through enemy files like they were nothing. Sage Mode is amazing. I don't understand why you didn't try to focus more on it, said Kushina. I had other issues in my mind. The energy gathering left me defenseless and I didn't want to be too dependent on Fukasaku and Shima to use it. I regretted it when I saw how Naruto in the future solved the problem using clones, responded Minato. Our baby is such a resourceful ninja, no matter the timeline. Okay, my clones and I are in position, I will start with the next phase, she said. Then, to everybody's awe, Kushina and her clones began to display hundreds of chakra chains that covered the battlefield. However, instead of using them to attack the invaders, they got attached on the defenders, including their allies from Konoha. Minato felt it through their link. Well done, my love. Now thanks to our link everybody is connected to the teleportation seals, and thanks to our combined Sage Mode we can evacuate not only the civilians but all the defenders. Activate, cried Minato. And so, Kumo's whole population teleported away from the village, leaving the very confused invaders behind. Hayashi and they confront the previous Raikage and find out his real role in the Hyuga incident and why so many people at Kumo was interested in the Byakugan. Meanwhile, Minato goes to Kumo's shelters to evacuate the civilian population. It is revealed that both Kushina and him can activate Sage Mode safely if they work in unison. Then through their link, a special teleportation seal and Kushina's chains, they manage not only to teleport the civilian population but also Kumo's ninja forces and their allies. Motoi always thought that being posted at Turtles Island was an easy but respected duty for his village, with boring but peaceful days with no incidents to report. He realized that it was not going to be one of those days when Mabui teleported to island a tri-pronged with a note from Darui ordering to take it to the island's biggest plane. He did so as fast as he could, and before he could send a message to the village asking what was going on, the plane got filled with the village's entire population and some of Konoha's most dangerous ninjas, including the revived Yellow Flash and his Jinchuriki son, the last one in Six-Tails state, and what seemed to be a skeleton formed around it, like some kind of armor. Motoi was plenty aware of the danger of an uncontrolled Jinchuriki after seeing B and Yujito's training sessions at the temple, but was surprised to see that the Kyubi's Jinchuriki was standing protectively at the side of a group of injured Kumo ninjas. He also noticed that the external bones were cracked in several places, making him wonder who could deal damage like that to a Jinchuriki with so many tails manifested. The only ones at Kumo able to do that were the Raikage, B, and perhaps Darui and Yujito, but the fact that there was no hostility between the Jinchuriki and the other Kumo ninjas pointed that they were in the same side. A dark-haired woman wearing a Konoha uniform at Motoi recognized as Tsunade's disciple headed towards the Jinchuriki. Naruto, do you recognize me? Are you still yourself? She asked. Yes, still me, what happened? Where? We, babbled the Jinchuriki with a voice that sounded like a mix of an early teenage and a demon's. We are in a safe place, your parents teleported us here, you can release the cloak, said Shizun. Okay, said the Jinchuriki while the cloak began to recess, revealing a boy not older than 13, with his skin looking like a severe case of sunburn. Ouch, it stinks, complained Naruto. Shizun applied some healing chakra and Naruto's skin recovered its normal appearance in a few seconds. Impressive. Bee and Yujito looked almost skinned after using too many tails before they got full control of their beasts, but this boy's body has an impressive resistance to Bijuu's chakra, no wonder why they tried to kidnap his mother years ago, thought Modoi. Who managed to damage your chakra cloak to the point of breaking the Kyuubi's bones? Asked Shizun. It was the guy who looked like Guy but with a mustache. When he began to use the seventh gate there was no way to hit him and I could feel his attacks through the cloak, said Naruto. That was Mato Dai, he is Guy's father, he is the one who defeated most members of the strongest generation of the Swordsmen of the Mist, explained Shizun. So he is Lee's granddad? It explains the eyebrows. Now I'm fine Shizune, go attend Sasuke and Itachi, they used the Mangenkyo Sharingan a lot and their eyes are bleeding, commented Naruto. Modoi couldn't believe what he was hearing. Mato Dai? The Konoha career genin who only could use taijutsu and defeated such powerful ninjas from Mist? Wasn't he supposed to be dead? Never mind, he would find out later, now he had to help his fellow Kyuumo ninjas. Iron Country. Some days later the five Kages and their most trusted advisors reunited to make official their alliance against Madara and his army, with Mifune acting as mediator. Although Akatsuki's army of undead ninjas didn't need to rest or get supplies, they didn't take advantage of it and kept stationed at Kyuumo when the Kazekage pointed that Jiraiya reasoned that while the dead didn't need to eat, drink or rest, the ones in charge were still alive and so the white Zetsus, but he also found strange that they didn't go immediately after another village after Kyuumo's fall. They must be planning something big if they are giving us time to organize our forces, we must be ready for the worst, commented Inoki. The news of the fall of one of the strongest ninja villages completely convoluted the elemental nations, especially after people found out that it was done by an army formed by two disappeared clans that came back as unkillable, tireless zombies extremely hard to defeat, accompanied by also undead legendary ninjas including several Kages and led by Uchiha Madara nonetheless. The only glimmer of hope was that the entire civilian population of Kyuumo and most its ninjas successfully escaped from the siege, teleported to Turtle Island by the combined efforts of the resurrected Yellow Flash and his wife the Crimson Death. That led Minato and Kushina to a dilemma when the other Kages asked how they did. At the end they decided to tell everything to them, including the real circumstances of Kushina's return, her link with Minato and the remaining details of the time travel. If the other Kages were going to be real allies then they deserved to know the most important details of the situation. And Inoki looked at Minato with even more respect than before at the knowledge that he managed to combine the 5 basic elements to create a real clone, although Inoki thought that Minato was crazy for sharing his thoughts with an Uzumaki woman while Mei didn't said it but got even more jealous of Kushina. The Kazekage, who was previously aware of the situation, kept empathizing with Kushina, knowing the plight of being an attached spirit unable to do anything to protect your family. Mifune, as a samurai who valued loyalty over everything, was really touched. Then the time travelers briefed the Kages with all the knowledge from the future that they could remember. It helped a lot that both Shikamaru and Shino had a great memory and gave a lot of details about the returned ninjas, at least those who appeared in the original timeline. For the rest their only source of info were old documents, people who knew them when they were alive and Minato, who fought them in the afterlife, although his info was about more experienced and skilled versions of said ninjas not as they were when they were alive, what meant that they fought him with different tactics. While the Kages were looking at the different profiles of the revived ninjas, A looked at his father's profile and got a bit annoyed when he found out that Naruto's future self was the one who defeated him, or more precisely, a mere clone of Naruto, was the one who defeated his father after figuring out how to wound him and coming with a plan to do it almost immediately. It was not a surprise that after the fourth ninja war of the original timeline that Naruto was promoted straight to Jonin, and Tsunade proclaimed that he would suit her in a few years, unlike some nonsensic timelines where Naruto not only remains a genin after the war but Tsunade, after only 4 years as Hokage, makes Kakashi her successor, not mattering that he was weaker than her, that he couldn't defeat any of the Akatsuki members he fought, or that he no longer had the Sharingan, his main advantage over other ninjas, and the requisite to use his no longer available signature move Chidori. Mifune was proud to find that his future version fought and defeated Hanzo of the Salamander, but took note to not get cocky, knowing that his future self had 3 more years of experience and that Madara probably will prepare Hanzo to fight him. Inoki showed Minato a profile with Obito's portrait. "Is this true? Is this not a way to protect your old student?" he asked. "Yes, what the profile says is true and I ask everybody to act according to it," responded Minato. "Does Kakashi know about it?" asked Shino. "He is one of the strongest ninjas of the Alliance and one of the most cool-headed persons I ever met, and that's a lot considering that I'm an Aburame, but this man's presence could affect him greatly. Don't worry about that. One of the first things I made when I returned was to tell everything to Kakashi. He has been preparing to face him during the last 2 years, as I did," reassured Minato with unexcrutable cruel smile. "What can you tell us about Sarutobi Sasuke?" "He is a ninja from before the formation of the ninja villages and our data about him is very limited, just that he was one of the strongest shinobis from his time," asked Mei. "He is powerful, very powerful and brilliant. He was one of Hashirama Sensei's, in fact he was the one who helped him to achieve his full potential. He was also the one who convinced the Nara, Akamichi and Yamanaka clans to join the recently formed Konoha due to the good relationship that the Sarutobis had with them," explained Minato. Then he proceeded to tell them about Sarutobi Sasuke's abilities. Many of them paled when they heard about them. "I have a question," said the Kazekage. "Why are there 2 Yondaime Kazekages? Did it happen in the future? If not, why is it happening now?" Shikamaru and Shino didn't know the answer. The same happened with Tsunade at Konoha via conference and Jiraiya, who missed the original war. "I have a theory," said Shikamaru. "We know that the Yondaime Kazekage, Raza, was turned into one of Sasori's unwillingly sleeping agents. I think that when Sasori's seal fully manifests and turns the victim into a fanatical and completely loyal slave of the one who implanted it, it creates a new personality. In the original timeline the Yondaime Kazekage was assassinated by Orochimaru before the invasion and Sasori never activated his seal at full power, just subtle manipulations. I think that it would explain some of his most questionable decisions like turning Gaara into an unstable Jinchuriki or the assassination attempts, but I'm getting out from the subject. The thing is that in this timeline that evil personality was fully manifested, counting as a different person but sharing the same body and soul as the original Yondaime Kazekage. It would explain why there are 2 of them, so we have a good Raza and an evil one. It doesn't matter if their personalities are different, at the end we will have to fight both of them," said Inoki. Everyone agreed with him. The only difference between both Kazekages would be that the evil one will be more eager to fight them. At least Temari, Gaara and Kankuro will have the relief that their father was not himself when he did those horrible things, thought Shikamaru. Before they could go for the next subject, a samurai crashed into the conference room. "L. Lord M. Mifune, Honorable Kages. I bring dire news," he babbled between pants. "I hope that they are really important if you are interrupting a Kage meeting," commented the Raikage. "Oh, but it is," responded the samurai with an evil smile and a voice that Minato knew very well. The poor samurai began to convulse while his features and clothes morphed into the ones from the person responsible of the current crisis. "Madara," cried everyone. "So you came here thinking that you can defeat us all? You are really cocky," commented A while he prepared to charge towards the Uchiha, but Minato stopped him. "He is not here, he is possessing that poor guy's body. He used that technique with Yagura. The original soul was gone as soon as Madara manifested himself," he said. Bravo, Minato, it looks like you made your research, commented Madara. So you are Madara? I imagined you taller, said Jiraiya. Why are you here? Asked Inoki. Did you come to tell us to give up and handle us the remaining Jinchurikis as your puppet did in the original timeline? Madara nodded. That's right, I offer you the chance to stop another unnecessary bloodshed. Just handle me the remaining Jinchurikis so I can proceed with the Moon Eyes plan and bring a perfect peace to the whole world, a world where nobody suffers and everyone is happy. Why do you want to deny people not the chance but the certainty of achieving their dreams and hopes? He asked. Stop with that crap. What you are proposing is a false happiness, a lie for those who can't face reality, as you did when everyone chose Hashirama as Hokage and your own clan preferred to follow his dream. You couldn't deal with it and for that reason you want to remake reality at your whim, pointed the Kazekage. If those words affected Madara, he didn't show it. What is real and not depends on the point of view of the individual. None of those affected by the infinite Tsukuyomi will be aware that they are dreaming. Who are you to deny happiness to humankind? Some of the present know about the bliss of a world of pure happiness without suffering, don't you Tsunade, Shikamaru, Shino? He asked. The three time travelers didn't respond at first. All three still had dreams about the brief time they were trapped in the perfect illusion, Tsunade in a world with Dan, Nawaki, and Jiraiya alive and where Orochimaru didn't fall into darkness, Shino discovering a completely new bug species and Shikamaru with Temari while looking with amused faces how his parents and Kurenai and Asuma were bickering. Madara took their silence as an agreement with his statement. Did you tell the Kages about the people from the future who got committed suicide after being dragged from their personal paradises? The ones who became depressed and resorted to drugs after that? What about the ones who began to hire genjutsu masters to return to their happiness? The Naruto from that timeline could have been officially the savior of the world, but for that people he was the selfish bastard who brought back suffering to the world in order to save his hide and achieve his own dream, he said. That's their problem, cut Shino. Everyone looked at the Aburame. What do you mean with that? Asked Mifune. It is true that many people couldn't accept the return to reality as you said, but many others like me felt disillusioned with the dream world because the only reason I achieved my dream there was because it was supposed to happen regardless what I did there. I didn't earn my dream, it was given. The realization when I awoke made my false achievement to lose all its meaning, said Shino. He is right, said Shikamaru, a fundamental part of achieving a dream is the work you do to get it. In my case it was different. I always had little ambitions. In the dream world I just got back things that I wouldn't have lost if it was not for your schemes. Don't expect to be considered the world's savior for giving back a mockery of what you took away. My dream was similar to Shikamaru's, intervened Tsunade. I got back what I lost and I was happy, but at the end it was fake, an evasion from reality. If something is impossible, people should accept and try to do the best from their lives. To honor those who can't instead of lamenting it. It took me years to realize it and I will be damned before I allow you to turn me again into that hopeless woman who would accept your substitution of was lost like a cheap drug. Now I have a new dream and will fight to make it happen in the world that my grandfather dreamed, not yours. Hashirama was an idealistic fool who took too much faith in the little good of people and was blind to their darkness. The village system he created didn't bring peace to the world, just improved the scale of the wars, pointed Madara. But at the end the world ended much better than during the warring clans era you were born, didn't they? Asked Jiraiya. That's not the point, said Madara. Hashirama's way of doing things didn't bring peace to the ninja world. Of course he didn't, interrupted Jiraiya. Hashirama's dream was to bring peace, but unlike you he was not as arrogant as you to think that it could be achieved during his lifetime. One of the advantages of being allied with the Toads is that many of them were already old during that time. They gave me a neutral, first-hand testimony of that era, a constant war where the clans hid like rats from each other, with most children younger than 10 already veteran killers minus those who were dead. Premature ninjas like Kakashi and Itachi were not exceptions but the norm, and it was worse if you were born a girl. As long as they hit puberty their ninja career was over and became baby-making factories with some exceptions like the Senju and their allies. With the village system, ninjas got real places to live, more allied clans, and instead of a constant war we got peace times tarnished by 3 ninja wars caused by some fools who couldn't accept it. And yes, we know that you had a hand in all of them. Yes, I won't deny that I manipulated things a little to cause war, but it just proves how weak was Hashirama's peace, unlike the one that I will bring to the world, said Madara. You are wrong, Madara. Each generation that came after the formation of the villages ended knowing both war and peace and grew to prefer the later. Look at us, the 5 great villages are allied against you and your plans. Peace will come to the ninja world, pointed Mei. Madara looked at them with a smirk that distilled the typical Uchiha arrogance. You called me arrogant, but you Kages are worse. You assume that you are talking in behalf of the whole ninja world. The 5 great ninja villages are just the most prominent part of it. Do you want to know what that samurai wanted to tell you? I will tell you myself. The majority of the minor villages joined my banner, he said. Madara's enemies couldn't believe what they heard. What? It can't be. They were neutral in the original timeline. What did you do to convince them to rise against the 5 villages? Cried Tsunade. Very little. In fact, many of your recent actions helped me a lot to convince them to join my cause, like Fire Country annexing Wave Country, that mission where you destroyed the Star Village's stone, or how you got the Nanabai. Jinchuriki, said Madara. What are you talking about? Wave Country joined Fire by their own will after we saved them from a tyrant who was bribing their daimyo to not do anything. Star Village's stone was practically killing their ninja population while making them big targets, and the majority of Taki stated that they didn't want to protect Fu, stated Jiraiya. Madara nodded. Yes, everything is true, but from the point of view of the minor villages it was just Konoha increasing its power at the expense of weaker villages and nations, especially after the revelation that the Nanabai's presence at Taki was the source of the hero's water. After you took the Nanabai, Taki ended divided into 2 factions, one that didn't want the Nanabai back and another that wanted it back for the good of the village. That fool in charge of the village didn't know what faction he should support. It was easy for me to get in contact with the later faction and have a meeting with representatives of the minor villages and tell them about the bijou, he said. What lies did you tell them? Asked Inoki, getting annoyed with all the talk. That's the best part. I told them the truth about them, that they were not the rampaging demons everyone believed but self-aware creatures who were created by the Sage of the 6 Paths to make the world better but were captured by the great villages to be used as superweapons and make their countries richer by their mere presence, said Madara. What do you mean with that? Asked Kushina. Didn't you ask yourself why Wind Country always have that hot weather that makes its beaches one of the most reliable touristic destinations in the elemental nations? Why Water Country's waters are always filled by fish? Why it is so easy to find metal deposits at Rock Country and Thunder Countries? Or why Fire Country is the land with the best agriculture and livestock? The bijus are the response. The presence of such powerful masses of living chakra have a significant impact in the environment of those countries. It shouldn't be so surprising. According to some ancient religions, foxes were spirits of fertility, said Madara. The time travelers were reminded of the vitalizing effect that Kurama's chakra had once Naruto got full control of it, confirming Madara's words. That didn't feel good with the representatives of the other villages, the great villages keeping the Hagoromo's gift to humanity for themselves, especially after I told them that the combined power of the beasts could be used to bring happiness to the whole world, but you don't want to share it, continued Madara. You used Shursue's Sharingan to brainwash them to believe your lies, don't you? Asked Kushina, now really pissed and wanting nothing else than to blow that smug grin on the Uchiha's face. I have to admit that I was a very useful tool to convince them, almost as useful as Ashina, said Madara. What? You should have seen your father, Kushina. He made such a sobbing story about how Whirlpool Country found the truth about the bijus and then the majority of the great villages conspiring to destroy them while Konoha abandoned them under the excuse that they arrived too late to help, said Madara. That was the last straw. Kushina charged at Madara and the other allies followed him. In the original timeline Madara utterly defeated the Kages, but it was a fight against an immortal Madara with unlimited chakra, the Rinnegan in both eyes, the Mokuton and his youth. The current Madara, although he looked as he did during his prime, he just had an altered, not immortal Zetsu body, Shurisues and a regular Sharingan, and the fact that he was not actually there, just possessing the poor victim's body. The thing is that the fight didn't last very long. 2 minutes later he was reduced to a bleeding head and a torso, still with that smug smile. Did you enjoy it? That will the last victory you will have during this war. The minor villages against you is just the beginning of my strategy. Soon you will know the terror of facing my army. It is beginning right now, he babbled before his body reverted to the samurai he possessed. Mifune regretted the death of his poor subordinate and took note that his family would be properly provided and that he would be remembered as a hero who fulfilled his duty. Meanwhile the Kages were guessing what kind of terror strategy would use Madara. It didn't take too long. Next day they received messenger hawks from all the villages and Turtle Island about random citizens turning out to be Zetsu clones equipped with explosive seals and causing as much damage as they could before they were destroyed, usually via immolation, taking those ninjas who were trying to stop them. The effect was almost instant. During next days, instead of organizing their forces to march over Kumo to reconquer it, the Kages had to keep them at their villages while they had to interrogate ninjas and civilians alike, asking for personal info in order to identify them because the infiltrated Zetsu clones imitated DNA, smell and chakra signature, spreading distrust among people from the same village. They also had to deal with quick attacks made by squads from the minor villages supported by Zetsu clones and some undead ninjas, that kept most the village's forces there. Not all minor villages joined Madara's forces. Nagato and Konan managed to keep reign outside of Madara's influence but had to keep neutral due to the distrust that most its population still had towards the great villages. It looked like the Ninja Alliance was about to crumble even before they had a major battle with their enemies. We can't delay it anymore. We need the Kyuubi's ability to detect negative emotions to find the infiltrated Zetsu clones. It's the only way we can mobilize our forces safely, said the Kazekage. Is Naruto ready to face the Kyuubi and obtain his chakra? He is really strong, but in the original timeline he had Sage Mode, commented Jiraiya. He may not have that power-up, but in the original timeline he only had B to help him at the Hachibi's temple. This time we have Yujito and Rashi as perfect Jinchurikis to help him, including what I left in his seal with that purpose. He will make it, said Minato, confident of his son's abilities. We also should make sure that Gaara and Fu also master the chakra of their bijus with the help of the Jinchurikis who already did it. With 6 perfect Jinchurikis our chances of victory will be high, said Mei. While A wasn't very happy with the idea of using the temple and to have B and Yujito training the Jinchurikis from the other villages, he had to agree with it. They needed all the help possible to reconquer his village. However, they had to renounce to their plans to improve the Jinchurikis when a messenger arrived with dire news. Honorable Kages. I have to inform you that the Hachibi temple has been destroyed by the Nidaime Tsuchikage Mu. One of the guards revealed himself as Zetsu clone and summoned the Nidaime using himself as sacrifice. The only good thing is that after destroying the temple the Nidaime Tsuchikage left the island without causing further damage, he said. The poor messenger almost pissed himself by the killing intent coming from all the Kages, especially A, and learned a lot of curses and swear words that he didn't know. Damn it! He thought about everything, and the worst thing is that he is toying with us not using Mu Sensei to cause more damage. He wants to show us that he is the one in control. What are we going to do now without the temple? Can Naruto master the Kyuubi's chakra safely and quickly without it? Asked Inoki while looking at Minato. Minato stood there in a thinking pose for a while until he spoke. There is a way to acquire it, he said. The Kyuubi's chakra, asked A. No, the ability to detect negative emotions that we need to detect the Zetsu clones. Naruto doesn't require to fully master the Kyuubi's chakra to have it. The truth is that he should have had it since the Kyuubi was sealed within him, but I designed his seal to have it blocked. I just have to unlock it, said Minato. After the successful escape from Kumo, the recently formed Shinobi Alliance has its first official meeting where Madara appears and reveals that he convinced the majority of minor villages to join his cause. Then the alliance faces its first crisis when the infiltrated Zetsu clones began to cause havoc among the shinobi files and Mu destroys the Hachibi temple, leaving the Jinchurikis without the means to master the powers from the tailed beasts, including the ability to sense negative emotions from the Kyubi. However, Minato reveals that there is a way to use that power without mastering Kurama's chakra. The conjoined army of the Shinobi Alliance was organized in divisions, each one with a division captain and an established line of command that could be quickly changed depending of the circumstances. Now all the divisions were gathered before the 5 great elemental commanders, each one a ninja from one of the 5 villages assigned by their respective kages, Baki from Suna, Kitsuchi from Iwa, Ao from Kiri, Darui from Kyumo and finally Kakashi Hatake from Konoha. The 5 great elemental commanders only responded to their respective kages and the Shinobi Alliance Field General Minato Namikaze, who only responded to the kages. Finally there was, the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Shinobi Alliance, with the kage's approval. Geez, why did they allow Minato-sama to assign the names of the higher ranks? It was never his strong point, complained Tenten. It looks like the kages were going to reject those names, but the daimyos and the Raikage liked them and made the final decision, responded Haku. Names don't matter, I'm glad that we will have the chance to fight with the others instead of staying at the village, said Niji while he adjusted his new Chunin vest. The front lines of the Shinobi Alliance were formed with the majority of Jonins and Chunins from the 5 villages, while the Genins and the remaining high-ranking ninjas were assigned for the supply lines and the defense of the villages. Due to Genins being the most numerous ninjas, the kages decided to organize tests for the most capable of them where they fought Chunins to see if they were strong enough to be sent to the front lines. Something similar happened during the Third Ninja War, but that time there were not tests, something that led to several young ninjas dealing with situations they were not prepared for, like Obito Uchiha. As the only members of the former Konoha 15 who couldn't fight in the finals due to the invasion, Niji, Tenten and Haku were called for the test where they demolished the competition and got promoted to Chunins. Enko's team also participated and got promoted 2-I Saribi, who was decided to be automatically promoted once she got the established 1-year minimal experience time as Genin. At first they were reticent to accept their new rank because they got fond of the idea of being Konoha's star team for the next exams, but their senseis and their parents were very staunch in that issue. If they were deemed able to do the same job and take the same responsibilities and risks than Chunins, then they earned the right to be Chunins. After the overwhelming performance by their graduation class, some of the kages decided that the Ninja Alliance should make sure that the not ordinary Genins won't be held back due to things outside their control like not having available teammates for the exams, not having time to take them and things like that, making more common the alternative means to prove that they were worthy of higher ranks. Curiously, that measure was supported by lots of Chunins due to the ninja meritocracy mentality that stated that rank was proportional to power and capabilities. Besides, people tended to question if you were worthy of your rank when people more capable than you are supposed to be your subordinates and not your equals. It was obvious that the other villages didn't want to see another group of overpowered Genins like the Konoha 15 completely owning the next exams, but Jiraiya didn't complain. The Konoha 15 was a very exceptional generation and it would take years until another generation with similar potential appeared. The not-so-subtle threats from Kushina about losing certain parts of his body if he dared to repeat with her team the same injustice as Naruto in the original timeline also helped. There were also tests for the experienced Chunins and similars. The career Chunins Izumo and Kotetsu were now special Jonins while Ebisu was finally a full Jonin. A positive side effect of the measures was that the army received groups of new ninjas with high morale, happy that they finally got the acknowledgement that was denied to them. The only exception was Kosuke Mariboshi, the eternal Genin, who refused to accept a promotion straight to Jonin. Jiraiya and Minato had to have a meeting where they explained that the Kage of the village was the one who had the final say in a ninja's rank and that he was a Jonin, he liked it or not, that he won't honor his deceased teammates, denying his current comrades his waste experience as ninja. He reluctantly accepted when Minato pointed that his teammates forgave him in the afterlife decades ago, that he was still punishing himself after all those years. Back to the plot, the Shinobi Alliance Field General Minato was finishing his instructions to the Shinobi army. And remember, the Liberation Seals only works after you destroy the body of the Edo Tensei zombie, destroying the seal that protects them. There are other ways to bring them back to the afterlife, like making them feel closure, but I don't recommend to try to talk with someone who is attacking you. Finally, the final method is to kill the one who performed the jutsu, as happens with all summons. Excuse me, General Sama, but I heard that the Edo Tensei zombies were permanent until the summoner released it. Wouldn't the summon ninjas remain if we kill the summoner? Asked Chojuro, feeling really uncomfortable by all the attention he was getting. That's what Madara, and Kabuto in the original timeline, said, but it is a lie. While immensely powerful and anti-natural, Edo Tensei is still a summoning technique and follows similar rules as the other techniques. Madara told that because the belief that only the summoner can stop the technique is really convenient for him, explained Minato while he remembered when Tobirama told Itachi in the afterlife that Sasuke and him never needed to get into so much trouble to force Kabuto to stop the technique when they only needed to kill him. What about those Zetsu clones? They can assume anybody's appearance and are able to mask their scent and chakra signatures. There is no way we can detect them, said Asuna Ninja. Minato brought up one of his special kunais while the 5 great elemental commanders and other high-ranking ninjas did the same. We just got a way to detect them. Naruto, now, he cried. Suddenly several random ninjas dispelled their henges, revealing themselves as Naruto's clones, and attacked other ninjas in what seemed to be random attacks. Help the blonde boy, the ones he is attacking are enemies, cried the great elemental commanders. The most disciplined ninjas obeyed the commanders while others stood there not knowing what to do, while some of them wanted to fight the Konoha ninja who was attacking their comrades without provocation until their squad leaders stopped them and told them to observe. To their astonishment, the attacked ninjas revealed themselves as Zetsu clones. Without a word they joined the rest of ninjas to defeat them. The battle was short but intense. The Zetsu clones were not the typical easy-to-defeat cannon fodder. Their inhuman bodies were hard to kill due to their plant toughness and absence of vital organs, and they were fairly skilled in combat, but they were fighting the main force of the Shinobi Alliance, including the commanders and other elites. They didn't have any chance. After the wounded were attended and the division captains reorganized the divisions, Minato addressed the conjoined army again. Let me introduce you to Chunin Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and his clones. He is the Jinchuriki of Kurama, the Kyubi no Kitsune. As you probably know, Jinchurikis get special powers from their tailed beasts. It could be a special affinity or exclusive techniques. In Naruto's case, Kurama grants him the ability to feel negative feelings, allowing him to detect the Zetsu clones. Each division will get a pair of clones that will find spies, prevent ambushes and fight alongside you, explained Minato. On the back of his head Naruto could hear Kurama's complaint about Minato using his name so freely. All the ninjas looked at Naruto and his clones. So this is the famous prince of Konoha people talks about. The yellow flashes son. He looks very young. Did he really defeat Han? A pair of clones for each division? How much chakra does he have? Naruto felt the mistrust coming from the foreign ninjas and the dislike coming from many of them, although they looked at him with completely blank stares, without any apparent hostility. Now he understood better his father's decision to block the special power that he got from the Kurama. Flashback, Mom, Dad. There is something that irks me. Why the other Jinchurikis got special powers but I didn't? I know that my future self got the ability to feel negative feelings after he mastered the Kyubi's chakra, but the others seem to have their powers since the beginning, asked Naruto. It is because your seal was specifically designed to block that power, only unlocking it after you got full control of the Kyubi's chakra, said Minato. Why did you do that? That ability would have been really useful, Dadabayo, complained Naruto. It was better that way. I neither had that power when I was the previous Jinchuriki. Mito-sama designed my seal to block the ability too, said Kushina. But why? Asked Naruto, getting impatient. When Mito-sama became the first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, she got that ability immediately. She said that it was really useful during the convulsed times that were Konoha's first years, when you couldn't know who could be your enemy or ally. Thanks to it, Konoha could find out what clans really wanted to join the village and which ones were trying to infiltrate to destroy it from inside. Unfortunately, that ability had a great toll on her psyche due to the influx of negative emotions she felt all day. For that reason, when I joined Konoha, she came to the conclusion that that power was too much a burden for a small child who just lost her family and had to become the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki in her place, and so she designed the seal with a safeguard that blocked the power so I would have a better childhood. I don't know if I should be grateful for that. Had I had that power during the day of your birth, perhaps things would have been different, said Kushina. When I sealed the Kyuubi within you, I came to the same conclusion as Mito-sama and added a modified version of that safeguard in your seal, one that would unblock the power once you got full control of Kurama's chakra, when it was guaranteed that you would have the mental and emotional strength to deal with everyone's negative emotions. After seeing how the village treated you, I'm sure that I made the right choice, said Minato. After thinking briefly about it, Naruto couldn't help but agree with his father's decision. His childhood was already bad, with most people hating. He couldn't imagine how unbearable it could have been directly feeling that hate towards him all time. Poor Gaara turned crazy with Shikaku's whispers at the back of his mind. In his case, he would have committed suicide or unleashed the fox to make the feeling stop. End flashback. Minato never felt so proud and guilty at the same when Jiraiya and him summoned Naruto and told him that they would have to unlock the power in order to detect the Zetsu clones, and his son accepted without hesitation, although he was pretty aware of the negative effects of that power. In fact, he was really excited to have a form of perception that nobody else had. Don't worry, Dad, you said that we can restore the safeguard when we like. Besides, this power will be really useful to protect my precious people and will make me a better Hokage when Sennin steps down, because I will know when someone would try to deceive Konoha or me, he said. The different Naruto clones dispersed among the divisions and introduced themselves to the ninjas. The majority of ninjas were surprised by the clones' friendly attitude and big smiles. Some of them shook their hands with the clones when they offered them, and others were more reserved, but that was expected in an army formed by different nations who were in a state of Cold War until recently. There was no problem with Konoha and Suna ninjas, minus in the division where Hinata was placed. Many of the clones wanted to be assigned there so they could be near her. The clones also noticed that Sasuke and Itachi were not in any division, confirming the rumor that he heard about Jiraiya sending them to a special mission. With a gesture, the 5 great elemental commanders told some ninjas who were hidden in the shadows to come. Many recognized them as Gaara, Yujito, Rashi, Fu and B, the Jinchurikis of the remaining tailed beasts, and, as Naruto, they came with their own clones and joined the different division. Fu and her clones greeted her new comrades in a similar way that Naruto did. Gaara introduced himself with his usual polite and serious attitude. Yujito, Rashi, and B were received with a lot of awe due to their status as perfect Jinchurikis, minus from those who already knew B. It looks like they were taught Kage Bunshin so they could be at several places like Naruto does. Makes a lot sense. They also have massive chakra reserves, although I noticed that they don't have as many clones as Naruto, meaning that there won't be divisions with a clone of each Jinchuriki, thought Sai while he greeted them. These are the other Jinchurikis of the Alliance. Their clones and them will fight alongside you and protect you. We expect you to do the same. Are we clear? Asked Minato, making it very clear that he won't tolerate any friendly fire or the Jinchuriki suddenly ending alone before the enemy. Nobody protested. I have a question, asked a random ninja. Which ones are the originals? That's confidential information that you won't know for your own security. Akatsuki wants to capture the Jinchurikis. The tailed beasts are essential for Madara's plan. The great majority of them are decoys that will force the enemy forces to divide themselves, decoys that can fight back. Due to almost all of them being clones, I remind you to not going to extremes in your duty to protect them, like jumping between them and an incoming attack unless they are confirmed as the originals, said Minato. Minato and the commanders remembered the army planning with the Kages and what to do with Jinchurikis, a wanting to hide them, the Kazekage to send them to the front to use their power to help the others, and Jiraiya reminding that no matter what they did, the Jinchurikis would end joining the war. Luckily Shikamaru, bless his brain, came with the idea of teaching Kage Bunshin to the Jinchurikis and to distribute them among the divisions. That way all the divisions would have at least the power of one of them backing them, and Akatsuki's forces won't know really where were the tailed beasts. Due to its simplicity and their chakra reserves, the Jinchurikis quickly mastered the jutsu, killing several birds with a single stone. Now the conjoined army of the Shinobi Alliance was finally ready to start its march to end the Fourth Ninja War. First stop, Oto. Elsewhere, without anybody from both sides knowing, the two unknown and immensely powerful entities watched how the events happened while waiting for their moment to strike. Soon, my moment will come soon. I just need to be patient, said one of them. The other didn't say anything and went back to sleep.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.